Hey, what's up, guys? This is Mike.
This is Tyrone.
This is Menelik.
This is Hollister.
hmm And welcome back to the podcast. So, as you all know, there's a lot of stuff going on with sports. Sports is starting to kick up, but I wanted to talk about a couple of things. So, to get us started, guys, I know Tyrone, you said you was getting into MMA and stuff like that. And I didn't watch the whole fight card, but there's something I wanted to talk about. Now, Dan Hardy was an ex-fighter. He fought GSP one time for the belt and got washed by GSP.
Oh, he
I
talked about that on the.
Yeah, so he couldn't fight anymore. I think because he has like some kind of like medical condition that he can't really fight anymore. So that's why he stopped fighting. But the UFC has hired him as a commentator. So as we all know, commentators there, they call the fights. Now it's a little bit different now because there's no longer any crowds there. So you can't have that ambient noise that's like the crowd noise that keeping your voice from
Yeah.
being heard. So he is watching a fight and he felt that the fighter who was knocked out took too many hits unnecessarily after that, and he screamed out, "Stop the fight!" Now Herb Dean is one of like the top referees that
Yes.
made people use, but we mainly see him in the UFC because the UFC is a big show in town. Um, he was like, "Yo, it's very dangerous," because they had a little altercation after the fight. He's like, "Very dangerous for somebody to say that because the only people who could tell him to stop the fight is the medical staff or the fighter's corner who see something. So when somebody who just yells stop the fight out of nowhere, and I'm not seeing that person saying it, and they just doing it, and I'm supposed to do my job, you interfere with the job, and that's a very dangerous thing to do because what if that guy? Because we've seen it before. People get rocked, they get dropped. As soon as they get to the floor, they still kind of coherent enough to you know stay in the fight, and for somebody to scream that out because they feel that that person. I understand as a fighter, you feel sympathetic and empathetic for that person because you know how it is to be taking abuse unnecessary. But excuse me, for you to say that is very
hmm
dangerous. So I wanted to get you guys' opinion on that.
I saw the fight, and when he first got hit, I knew he was out.
hmm
But not a lot of times they can see that. And I believe his hands were still up in a defensive position, like he was blocking.
Yeah.
Not saying that he was really blocking, but he had his hands like around his face. So
hmm
maybe Herb saw that and thought he was still coherent, but he was out from what everybody saw. And I think that he probably saw a different angle and didn't know he was completely knocked out.
hmm
He probably saw the hand because if you look at the replay, you'll see his hand. I think one of his hands, or maybe both. I can't really remember
Yeah,
off the
one of
top
his
of my
hands
head.
were kind of straight up,
Right.
kind of like
Yeah.
in a defensive. So his hand was down first where it fell,
Yeah.
but then he did put it up
Yeah.
like in a defensive position for a
Right. He
little
looked
while.
like right. He looked
Yeah.
like he looked like he could have been aware, but
hmm
what I saw was he was knocked out. Now, for her in Herb's defense, I think that he probably was at an angle and didn't see what we saw. So I can't really judge him or get on him about that. It wasn't that it wasn't that blatant where you're like, Jesus,
hmm
stop the fight, man. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Malik.
Yeah, so this is how I feel as well. Like I do think it is a possibility that that angle that Herb was at, he couldn't see the fighter's face in a certain way when he originally got hit.
Hmm.
So yeah, when he first got hit, he did seem like from the angle that we're able to see it at. You could
Yeah.
see his face. You could see he did fall kind of like limp like, but
Hmm.
sometimes there's some people who you kind of get knocked out, but when you drop or get thing, you kind of snap out of it fast
Yeah.
or
Right.
quick. That happens sometimes. So with him dropping, right, his hand was on the ground. He did seem like he was kind of out, but then he did put his hand up after kind of in defensive position. Now, if you look at his face, he still looked like he was a little out of it. But
Right.
if you're just seeing someone, they do kind of drop, but then you see them kind of put their hands up, and the angle Herb might have been at could have made it where he wasn't as sure. And what Michael was speaking to a little bit earlier, a referee's job is in MMA is a super tough job. It's like
Yeah.
if you call a fight too early, you're kind of
Hmm.
robbing people of their chance of really trying to come back or just getting a full shot. But then if you stop it too late, you risk them, having certain permanent injuries or, brain damage or other kind of serious issues. So it is a tough spot to be in, where you don't want to prematurely stop a fight, but you also want to protect the fighters. And then with the whole calling out during the fight to stop the fight, I could understand too how that could have an impact. If you're trying to make sure whose voice you're hearing or what's going on, you don't want to, because sometimes, so let's say you're not sure and you stop the fight. That was a moment where a fighter could have pounced and finished the fight. So then if you stop it, right, you taking away that moment from the fighter who got the knockdown. But then if you don't stop the fight, you're putting the other fighter at risk. But once again, if only certain voices are supposed to be heard in that way, I could understand how that could also have factored into his decision.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I feel like it's not as clear cut. I feel like there's been worse non-stoppages, I guess. The thing that did make this one though look kind of weird, it did look like they was on pause for a second at a point, because it was like went over there, like, they kind of paused. They both, like, Herb was there, stopped. The fighter was kind of stopped, and then the guy's hand was up. So it seemed like everybody was hesitating. Like, oh, you gonna make a move? You gonna make a move? I'm gonna make a move. Oh, do I gotta punch him still? So, like, so then you see the guy throw the strikes afterward. And then after he threw, 2 or 3, then Herb was like, so do I think it was the best stoppage? No. But I could see how, with the yelling going on in the back, with not being sure and probably the angle he was at, and him trying to give, the fighter the chance, like I said, his hand dropping, then his hand going up, and then it looked like his angle wasn't fully on his face. I know once he was standing over him, you could see him a little better, but like I said, he was kind of in a defensive position, which, people have different thresholds too when they like, when they wobbly or when they a little bit out of it. So I don't know. Herb has been in the game for a long time. It's a hard business, and I feel like he has done a good job overall as a referee. He has a good rep, so I'm not going to say that this was the best thing, but I give him the benefit of the doubt. So
Hollister?
I didn't really see the fight, but I did read like a little brief thing on it. I think he should have just let Herb Dean do his job, because Herb Dean been around for a long time. He know what he's doing. And the commentators should just stick to their job and, commentate on the fight and let the refs do their thing. I'm gonna have to look into it.
Yeah, I mean, look, and just to get back on that real quick, is just that I agree with everything y'all said. As a person who watched a fight, like we already know that as people who are watching it on TV, we get different angles, different views of things, and it's just a different animal in itself. Whereas we might see like a travel call or somebody, did something in whatever sport it is, we can see it a little bit easier than the referees or the umpires or anything like that. My thing is this: that what gets sketchy is that even if it was a bad stoppage, because Herb Dean's not perfect. Herb Dean stopped the fight early one time. Some people felt he stopped the fight one time too late. You know what I mean? And he was always, getting criticized for stopping the fight a little too early sometimes, right? So be that as it may, when you're in a circumstance like that, where you're a commentator, right? Now, as a commentator, you have to be as unbiased as possible. You know what I mean? A lot of times, yes, you have your favorite fighter or your favorite team, but you have to give what you see, right? Unbiasedly. Even though, like, that's why I respect people like DC somewhat, because even when he had to, like, give John Jones criticism while he was watching his fight, he'll give him his props because he had to do his job. So at the end of the day, like Puff said, Hollister said, right, is that you gotta do your job. Herb Dean has a job to do. You might feel a certain kind of way, and I heard that earlier was another fight that another referee was calling that they felt went a little too long as far as the strike, so that's why he probably felt emotional about it. And as a fighter, you'll feel emotional because you feel for the fighters, but you can't.
It was sorry to cut you off, but I didn't watch a lot of the earlier fights, but I think during this situation here, I think it was actually Herb the first time. I think it was Herb again. I think it was the second time he was calling out Herb for in that same night.
It might
I'm
be
not too sure. I'm not too sure, but I think he said, "Oh, this is the second time he's done this tonight." Something like that. I'm not sure.
Okay. I'm not
sure.
100% sure because I did watch like the interview with Herb Dean afterwards, and I also watched this channel called MMA World. Even though it's like a plug, and they don't know who the hell we are, or they whatever. And they were showing it, and it was saying that I think like even when DC and Ariel Helwani, where they were talking about it, there was like, you know, how early in the fight there was another fight that had something similar happen, so they felt that kind of way. But at the end of the day, still, right? Your job is not to scream during a fight to stop it, because like what Melik said earlier, what I said, and what even Hollister said, right? It's a slippery slope when you do that, because it could be a fighter who gets dropped and look like they out completely, and they hit that ground and they get their kind of enough bearings to grab a leg, and if somebody screams stop the fight, and I'm hearing a voice as a referee because I'm watching the fight, I'm not looking in the crowd seeing who said it to me, I'm watching the fight to see what's going on with the fighter. If I hear that and I jump in the way to stop a fight when a fighter could be perfectly fine, that is a problem. So that's why it's very dangerous. And also I heard that Dana White said if Dan Hardy does that again, he'll be fired. So you got to be very careful with these certain things. As passionate you might be to it, you just got to chill. Go ahead.
You never, I'm not sure how it works in MMA. You know, boxing, they throw in the towel.
Yeah, but they have that too. You could throw in the towel.
But to help your defense with Herb Dean and what you just said, he could be hearing that, and he could think it's the corner.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. He said exactly that. He said it could be he said the only two people who have that, only three people could stop a fight is himself, obviously, the corner, and the medical physician. And he said when you hear the voices yelling in the background, right, because you feel that you could automatically think that. Now, for him being a veteran, he understand like, look, I'm not going to listen to that, because he knew without saying it, he tried to be politically correct, but pretty much he was trying to say, yo, shut up, because I know it was not those people, and you have no right to say anything. Let me do my job, you do your job, and commentate, right? So at the end of the day, I have to side with Herb Dean for that sense, because at the end of the day, you can't go around doing that in the fight. Now, granted, it is true. You want to protect the fighters the best you can, but like what we said already, some cats get rocked. I've seen cats get dropped. I'm talking about dropped, and you think they out, and then they get it. Like it's a fight you guys should check out. Right? Me and my friend used to make jokes about this all the time. Is this fighter named Czech Congo? He used to be in the UFC. He's a heavyweight fighter, black dude, very brolic from France. You know what I mean? And we rooting for him, right? And he's fought this guy named Pat Berry, who was Rose Namajunas' fiance, and Pat Berry dropped him. I'm talking about dropped him. To the point that he looked, if they would have did what they felt, it'd have been over. But he got up, grabbed the leg, got dropped again, got up, grabbed the leg, and then ended up coming out and knocking out Pat Berry. Now imagine if a referee was prematurely doing it because somebody said, stop the fight, he got dropped twice, stop it, and he stopped the fight. He'd have been robbed of that opportunity. Cain Velasquez, who was considered at the time one of the best heavyweight fighters in the UFC or in the history of UFC, right? He had a weak chin too, but he got dropped multiple times by Czech Congo too. But he got up, wrestled Czech Congo, and literally mopped the canvas with Czech Congo with his wrestling. So what I'm saying is that people react differently to getting rocked. There's some walk-off knockouts that people can clearly see that the cat is rocked and he's done with. When like your boy got tiger kneed by Jose Masvidal, you already know he was knocked up. The toes are curled up, his legs stuck in position, look like a freaking action figure that's bent up. So we already know that. But my thing is that you can't go around doing that. Even though you might be like, man, that is crazy, man, I don't like it. You can't do that. And that's the only reason why I kind of felt a certain kind of way, especially with Dan Hardy saying that. I like Dan Hardy, but in this case, I think he's wrong for that. And you got to let the referee do their job. You know what I'm saying? Especially a seasoned veteran like that.
So how about this? Mm-hmm. Why don't they do what baseball and basketball is doing? Mm-hmm. Implement some crowd noise in the MMA.
I mean,
in these events. I mean, I understand, because all you're really hearing when they're fighting is you're hearing the coaches yelling, and you can hear to prevent something like this again. You should put a little crowd noise in there. Some not music, but some crowd noise. Just a little crowd noise. Just a bunch of chattering. Not really. It doesn't have to have cheers and boos. Just some chatter.
Some people like to hear the Some people like to hear the punches and all that.
Because a lot of times,
I think fighting is a little bit different. Sorry to cut you. It's just that with basketball, it's kind of like you want that kind of ambient noise for that kind of in-player experience. Cats need that. When you fighting and you getting punched in the face, you could barely care about the crowd making noise. You're trying to hear your corner. You're trying to hear those certain things, right?
I was trying to come up with a solution.
No, I hear you, but
the referee situation. Nothing really for the fighters.
Dana White got a solution.
Not saying that the fighters need it.
Dana White got a solution.
You're gonna
Get fired. I think is that most professionals, they know that. Like Joe Rogan, DC, a lot of them already know that. Now, what happens is that they're accustomed to being in environments, right, where it's so noisy that they can scream out and say those things and the referee doesn't hear it. What happened with the Dan Hardy situation was that Dan Hardy said it, but he said it and he went to Herb Dean afterwards about it. So that's why it became a bigger thing. It's one thing, it's like, man, I think he should stop the fight, right? Right? If he said, I think he should stop the fight. He was saying, stop the fight, as if he stopped commentating to talk to Herb Dean. And on top of that, after that, you're supposed to interview the fighters afterwards. His job was supposed to interview the fighter afterwards. He spent his minutes that he's supposed to interview the fighter after the fighter's victory to go talk to Herb Dean about him stopping the fight. So when you do stuff like that, now you get it. It's in a dangerous situation, because who's to say that the referee that the UFC doesn't have certain guys saying certain things to help dictate and get in the head of a official to make a bad judgment call because they feel they're being chastised. You can't do it. A referee's job is a very difficult job to do. You're looking at so many different things in all sports, and it gets more complicated when you have other people who's trying to interject in their job. And we all know this. We work at different places and different environments, and the worst thing is when somebody come to your house where you working at and try to tell you how to do your job the best way, and they don't have no experience in doing it. So what I'm saying is that in that sense, Dan Hardy needs to do what he's supposed to do, what he was hired there for, but they flew him out to Dubai to chill out in the fight island is to call the fight. He just needs to call the fight, and that's it.
Stay in his lane.
He should, because he should, because I don't know how good that guy was as fighter, but I did see some old clips on Herb Dean, so he looked like he could get it in too. So
I mean, Dan Hardy probably watch Herb Dean.
I'm just saying that he knows how to fight. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of those guys know how to fight. Even like Bruce Buffer.
It's not just your average referee.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, a lot of these cats know that already, and fighters have that kind of mentality. They'll fight anybody. I get it. But in this case, Dan Hardy, like I said, I like this new thing he's been doing with his fight stuff. He has a podcast, he's doing different things since he can't fight anymore. Outlaw. That was his nickname. He's a Mohawk. He just got to chill.
He's a wild one, too. Yeah.
And, stay in your lane. That's it. You know what I'm saying? So, all right, let's move on to another fight news. We already know, we already spoke about this last week. Hollister, you wasn't here, but we spoke about the Tyson and Roy Jones fight coming up September 12th, right? And, we've been going back and forth with the whole thing, exhibition, no knockout clause, and yada, 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 who we feel is going to win, et cetera, et cetera. However, recently, I seen a video on YouTube, and I also heard a news story that in sparring and training for this event, Mike Tyson has knocked out a couple of his sparring partners. I don't know what to say about that, as if that any indication of what's going to happen to Roy Jones Jr., but it's going to be a hell of a fight, I think. Mike Tyson is taking this extremely seriously. And once he starts, he always just say, like, he's like one of those guys, of y'all anime fans who watch Naruto, with the hidden beast that's inside Naruto, or like Dr. Jekyll, or even Incredible Hulk. Like, he knows that when he gets to that mode, when he want to fight, that spirit come out. And he said he tried to kill his son one time. He said, I had to kill it because his son, he saw like himself in his son, that anger and that kind of like angst. And he said he was so scared of it that he tried to kill it. He was trying to literally talk about he's going to kill his kids. And so when he say children, he probably really meant it. So what I'm saying, with that being said, Mike Tyson it's an on and off switch with Mike. It's not like in between. It's either he going to be a killer or he going to be this docile, humble Mike Tyson. And I think on fight night, he going to be the killer Mike.
Listen,
I don't know.
Listen, let the boxing guy talk for a second here, okay? All right. I'm not doubting 1 second that Mike Tyson knocked out some sparring partners, because it's happened. But there's always a legend in boxing where so-called, air quote, rumors always get leaked during big fights that someone got knocked out in sparring. Whether it's the actual fighter that's doing the fighting, like Tyson, or it's him doing the knocking out. A lot of that is a lot of intimidation to hype it up, to make it look better. Yeah. So you can't really read too much into that because that happens all the time. Like
I
they'll
get
say,
that.
"Oh, this one got knocked out in sparring. That one." And there's always an unwritten rule in boxing that you don't talk about sparring, like what really happens in sparring, especially if it's two professional fighters.
Yeah.
So a lot of that is just rumor.
Yeah.
You'll never hear the actual fighter say he knocked somebody out in sparring or got knocked out in sparring.
Of course, I mean, look, man, they didn't have to say nothing because they've seen it.
But like I said, it's Mike Tyson, so it's possible. But I'm just saying, don't read too much into the rumor about that. And I'm still picking Roy Jones all day.
I mean, look, man, I think Roy Jones got the skills, and I'm gonna let you guys get in Hollister, man. Like, I think Roy Jones got the skills. I just feel that people, y'all must have forgot. I get it, but people sleep on Mike. Now, even Roy Jones, he know that Mike Tyson is gonna do his thing, but he got his skills and he's a smart fighter too.
Sorry,
when it comes to Mike,
I'm sorry to cut you off, Mike.
Too. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off, Mike, but I don't know who you've been talking to, but I've never heard anyone sleep on Mike Tyson.
No, I'm not trying to say that sleeping on Mike Tyson. I'm just trying to say that as far as like people honestly feel he hasn't fought in a long time.
There are people that still scared of Mike Tyson, as if he was in his prime.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. But when I look at the man is 54 years old, and I watch him,
and they're still scared.
And the man's speed it's all muscle memory, right? It's crazy. Yes, baby. But yeah, man, like, what are your opinion on it? Hollister, anyone of y'all can go.
Yeah. So, all right, you go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, so I could see like Tyson being in the fight, doing his thing, and let's say Roy Jones hit him with a good shot or two, and he snapped into that other kind of mode. But at the same time, Roy Jones style, he was always had a good mix of like being elusive, being able to, find his shots and do his thing, right? Me, I can't ever go against Tyson. Like, just because but like I said the last time, I do think Roy Jones has a legitimate shot. And I do feel like if it does end up being mostly like an exhibition kind of fight, like I was supposed to be, I could see Roy Jones eking him out. Like if it, just based off like, points or the scorecard, like on that kind of a victory, not sleeping on Mike either, but so I don't know. I feel like it could go either way. I feel like if Tyson gets in there and then, the that beast takes over, even if not full, like you was making a Naruto reference, or let's say 4 or 5 of the tails come out, maybe not all 7, but you know what I'm saying? I could see, him doing his thing and getting that. So I'm not ruling either one of them out. They both legends. They both do their thing. I think it's going to be an interesting fight. Mm-hmm. And, I'm looking forward to see what happens. Like, I know there's been a little bit of footage of Roy Jones, sparring as well out there. And, for them both being 50-some-year-old, they look good. But like I said, we'll see how it is when, it's fight time. They both got, some level of egos and some level of, they competitors. So we'll see how competitive they get during the fight, or if it's going to make it a little more of a exhibition. Even though, like I said, I do feel like Mike is going to have a little more problems just keeping it casual, for lack of a better way to put it. But yeah,
Hollister?
I see I think Roy going to probably win the fight, because I see it now, like Tyson's going to come out with all the energy early on. And I know Roy Jones is the type, he like to wait, get the opponent tired out, and then he just start hitting him at the end. So I see the fight pretty much going like that. Roy going to probably win on the scorecard. Mm-hmm. Tyson might be fatigued at the end. But I think it's gonna be real good. But Tyson, if Tyson catch Roy, I don't know. But I think Roy's going to be the one to win, because he's going to probably drag the fight out.
That's exactly what Roy's going to do.
I think Roy's going to dance around a little bit, do his little thing. But see, that's another thing. Like when me and Malik was just talking about, it's like he's going to dance around and Mike going to get frustrated. And then he's going to tie the 7-tail beast, and then he's going to get tight. My only thing is with stamina. You know, they in their 50s. Not trying to say they're not good shape for their age. But even when I was watching some of Mike Tyson like sparring, he was going to that bag, hitting the bag heavy. After he was done, I could see like the heavy breathing. Obviously, he was training before, and as you get close to the fight, your lungs and stuff get better. It was just something that I noticed. I was like, yo, man, these cats are in their 50s doing their thing. Roy Jones always had the kind of slick boxing skills where he'll catch you with something that you don't even know that you're going to get caught with.
He's just patient.
I'm not.
He's in no rush. He's patient.
So my thing is that I feel that it's going to be a good fight. I think that Mike is at an age now, he will try to keep it, to that stage. But, when you're a fighter, how some fighters say it, like Deontay Wilder. Everybody say Deontay Wilder was a nice person to be around on a regular basis, man. You just chilling with him. When he gets into the drama, that's when he start getting to, like, looking for the kill and all the other stuff like that. Some fighters have, like, Quentin Rampage Jackson, who used to be one of my favorite MMA fighters, right? Yep. He would be cool, and then when he get into that thing, he start hollering, and get in that ring and Rampage. It's a different mindset. So some fighters have that kind of thing where they have to turn into this beast or tell them something like, well, this cat spit on your mom or something like that just to be able to fight. And some people could know how to turn off and on that switch. But like I was saying with Mike only is like, it's on or off. It's not like in between. Like, Roy Jones could do an exhibition fight and dance around and have fun. I think he did one when he used to have like that pros versus Joes. He did something like that one time, joking around with the guys. And also like a Mayweather could do that, dancing around, having a fun time. But with Mike, it's either kill or be killed. You know what I'm saying? So I'm waiting to see if he'll be able to do something like that. But yeah, it should be a good fight. So moving on to fights. This is a different sport though. In baseball, I'm not a big baseball fan, but I thought it was interesting. We already know about the Astros and how much of cheaters they are, and the Boston Red Sox. We get all that. However,
you continue as. Just make sure that when you say that, right, that you are a Yankee fan when you say that. Like you threw the Red Sox in there, but they didn't bang trash cans or have buzzers on their. They allegedly looked at video in a video room, which to me is ridiculous because all the teams in Major League Baseball do it. But I guess because the manager was Alex Cora and he was on the Astros, that's why the Red Sox were investigated. But I just got to throw that out there because I knew he was going to throw that little shot at Boston.
That's fine. I'll let you get your turn off.
It's okay. It's okay.
The Red Sox put a prototype,
let's just not forget that the Yankees are currently appealing an investigation into their sign stealing also. Let's just make sure that's out there in the podcast too. Don't edit this out.
I'm not editing out. Everybody know. They on the appeal because it's like, look, hey Judge, you did your investigation. You ain't find nothing. Don't try to investigate us again to placate these Red Sox.
There's nothing. You can't say they didn't. You can't say they didn't find anything because they're appealing right now. They haven't even been allowed to look yet. So you can't say
looked before. They didn't when it first came out. They looked that time.
No, they were. I'm sorry to bust your bubble, but they were never investigated. This is the first time, and they are appealing it. That's all it is, okay? And let's not forget Carlos Beltran, who's the ringleader, worked for the Yankees in 2018 and 2019.
I don't recall that.
Alex
died.
I know you don't recall that because you're not. I know you don't recall that.
And then you can
go
not
a baseball guy.
You're right.
But if you want to keep, I can go into numerous players that were involved and talk about alleged Yankees. But that's not what we're here for today. So you can continue your question about the Dodgers and Astros.
All right. As you can see, as a Red Sox fan that's defending his team, which is fine. That's honorable.
And as a Yankee fan, you're defending your team, which is fine.
Yeah, of course. But my team is clean, bro. My team is good.
If we're discussing the Dodgers and Astros, why are you bringing up the Boston Red Sox? Is there still bitterness? Is there still bitterness from the 2018 first round and then 2004 where you blew the 3-0 lead? Is there still bitterness there? I mean, 2018, you gotta let it go, man.
Allegedly cheating. Let's get to it. Let's get it. You're right. It's in the past.
And I'm gonna send you a text message later on something that has some information on the Yankees allegedly cheating during the playoff series with the Red Sox in 2018. But we'll talk about that.
I'll like to see that. Anyway,
yes, I'll show you.
We're gonna get back to the Dodgers and the Astros. So we already know the Astros are the biggest cheaters on the planet, right? They've been doing technology, buzzers, watch, everything, right? So a lot of people feel, baseball got a lot of weird rules. Like you hit a home run and you flip the bat, you're gonna get hit with a pitch sometime down the line of your career. The players don't like that. If you trotting and on a home run, or you get around the bases too slow, they're gonna try to get at you. They have some weird morality in baseball. However, be that as it may, the Astros cheated, right? They had this whole immunity thing so the players could snitch and say what happened and expose the cats who work for the Red Sox, who work for the Astros, who everything, right? My thing is this, right? I was listening to the radio on my way home from a hiking trip the other day.
Mike,
I'm getting to the point. This is finished. I'm getting to the point.
Sorry. No. I just want. No, hold on. Relax. Go ahead. Can you just stop bringing up the Red Sox, please? Because we're talking about the Astros and Dodgers.
I know that, but what I'm trying to say, the manager, I don't know his name. I didn't say the managers from the Red Sox. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to say that.
Actually, he was immediately fired. He was actually immediately fired. Okay. But this is what happens when you throw the Red Sox in there. Stop throwing them in, and I won't interrupt you.
All right. So anyway, let me get to the point, right? So this guy was in there, right?
It's all good. It's all good.
Stuff, right? And so this we do all the time, guys. So anyway, right? I was listening to the Michael Kay and Rosenberg and whatever show, and they were talking about this guy Joe Kelly, right? Is his name, Tyrone?
Yeah.
So he used to be.
Joe Kelly.
Used to be on the Red Sox as well, and this happened in this Javier team, and I'm not talking about them. He now on the Dodgers, right? And he's on the Dodgers, correct?
Yes.
A lot of players feel, like I said, the whole thing morality with baseball, that they don't like the fact how the MLB handled the Astros situation. Me personally, I felt they should have stripped the title from them. They put no championship or no contest for that year. Especially if you find out that the guys cheated with all the technology. I understand. In games, that people do a lot of cheating things in games. Some people, when fighters, you saw fighters will grab a short or put their hand in your glove or do certain things not supposed to be. To put their fingers on the cage. Sometimes in basketball, somebody might grab you and flop to cause a foul and also that. But those are cheating within the game, or like manipulating the rules, right? Baseball, then you know what I mean. For you to go out, sign stealing is like, you know what? I know that every time I see they set up after this pitches, every third pitch is a curveball. That's okay if you do it within those confines. When you start using technology and banging drums and doing certain things, and you have somebody on second base doing it, you get into that level of Belichick type of cheating, which is also in Boston, right? So you start to get those things, and then when you get to that point, then it starts to mess with the integrity of the game. So I say all that to say, for them to not get no type of punishment, to lose some draft picks and the players that's on the team, and knowing that if I hit a bat, I'm hyped to hit a grand slam and I flip my bat up in the air, and I know that someday down the line I'm going to get hit with a pitch for doing that. I don't understand why they made it such a big deal about him doing it. Now, granted, they said he was kind of like do it against the head, and I do agree. You don't want to hit somebody with a 96-mile-an-hour pitch in the head. But if the players are getting hit by pitches, you have to expect that as an organization. Now, I understand because of the whole COVID, you don't want the brawl to be like everybody benches clearing, everybody fighting and breathing on each other and causing a whole coronavirus outbreak. But for them to suspend this cat 8 games, which is equivalent to 22 games if a regular season was happening, is kind of OD in my book. And a lot of baseball players who were responding to that sentence was like, yo, that's OD, that's messed up. You pretty much placating the Astros and giving them a free pass. Not only do they have the championship, but we can't even have our own quote unquote street justice on these cats because of the fact that happened. So Hollister, what do you think? I'm gonna let Tyrone end it because he has more information. But Hollister, go ahead.
I think they blew it out of proportion because it wasn't really that serious to me.
Yeah,
because he just walked away.
Teams got a grudge. They got an axe to grind. Like, they really don't feel like they got, a fair amount of punishment or for what they did. And I think it's going to show itself in these different ways. I mean, the baseball season barely getting underway, and, you already have some of these instances. So I feel like it was probably an overreaction because they're trying to get a certain level of control of it. So yeah, I do feel like it was a bit much, but I guess they're trying to get control of the situation in a sense by sending a message. But at the same time, they got other issues. Like the actual season being able to
the season might not finish, isn't jeopardy.
finish. So that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely an overreaction, but it was probably because they're trying to get some type of control of the situation. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Okay, Tyrone, I know you got a lot to say on this.
Okay, so speaking on what Menelek just said about the season, yeah, it's possible that as soon as Monday it could be done.
Wow,
yeah, I heard that this morning. Like they're talking about as soon as Monday is possible, because right now the Cardinals, they have a couple more players that came out today that tested positive, so their whole series is canceled for the weekend. The Marlins have of course been out for the whole week. I think it is Philadelphia. They had some games suspended, so it's getting real bad, and it's kind of the players' fault to me, because even though you're not in a bubble, you're grown adults. You should be responsible and quarantine better, and distance yourself better. That's my personal opinion on that. But going to Joe Kelly's situation,
I have breaking news when you're done. But
okay,
no, go ahead.
The situation with Joe Kelly is a little. If you're a big baseball fan, you can understand a little bit with him. Yes, he wasn't on the Dodgers in 2017 when the Astros won the World Series in 7 games.
Yeah.
But he was on the Boston Red Sox in 2017 when they played the Astros in the first round. A lot of people don't talk about that. They mostly focus on the Yankees and the Dodgers because they've done the most talking about it. And yes, the Red Sox had an investigation, which they were acquitted of. But in 2017, which is the year before their alleged situation, they played the Astros and were beat in the first round. So he had a little gripe. I think that was more towards him playing for Boston than it was the Dodgers. Now, had it been another Dodger like Kenley Jansen, Clayton Kershaw, one of those guys that hit an Astro player, you'll know what that's about, the World Series. But I think Joe Kelly, and he's a fiery guy. Like when he was in Boston, he was very fiery. He's even been in a Yankee Red Sox brawl already. He was in the middle of one of those. So he's a little hothead too. So when he did what he did, I think he shouldn't have got one single game. And you want to know why I think he shouldn't have gotten one single game? Because he hit no one. He didn't hit anybody. He threw at them. He didn't hit them. Hitting them in the head, hitting them somewhere on back-to-back batters is one thing. But when you don't connect on that, number one, an ejection is always an ejection can be something that could happen because you can get the warning the first time because everybody knows the history, the umpires know what's going on. So they're going to issue a warning after the first one. So, okay, you do that, and then you throw purposely again because it was on purpose. He might have said it slipped or something. He's lying. It was on purpose. The second time, that warrants an ejection. But the 8 games, I think, again, to me, it looks like they were protecting the Astros because of what happened. Because a lot of teams are going to want to do this, and some have done it already before this. So I think that they were trying to protect the Astros and let teams know, listen, they cheated. We understand your frustration, but we can't let you guys spend a whole season hitting them. And I broke it down to a friend of mine's at work, and I was telling him, yeah, it's fine to get everybody's happy that they're getting hit, but what does that really do? Because it doesn't take away from what they did in 2017. They still won. And I want to allude to what you said earlier, Mike, about taking the World Series away. That's kind of a 50-50 thing with me. Like, I think it's possible they could have, and I think at the same time, it really doesn't help. It doesn't really change anything. Taking it away would have given the message, like, listen, this is what will happen if you guys keep doing this.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. Like, I agree with what you said there. Like, okay, you guys want to keep doing this. Look at what happened to this team here in 2017. We took their whole title away. We took their banners down. It's not in the record books. I get all of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that particular year was that particular year. So it really doesn't change. Even though you may hear something a couple years later, that doesn't change what happened then. Yeah, they'll take it away now, but a Dodger fan that was still hurt in 2017, yeah, if they take it away a couple years later, that doesn't mean, oh, the feeling doesn't go away, like the pain they experience. So I don't really think it really matters after that.
But I look at it real quick. Sorry to cut you off. Real quick. Just a response to that. I look at it like this, right? It's just like when something happens in, like, for instance, right, when my apartment got robbed when I first got married, right? The pain of my stuff being taxed and cats playing FIFA on my PlayStation 3 and all that stuff like that, right? It was still there. However, if the cops were to arrest those people, I would have felt better knowing that those people served their time for doing what they did. So I say that to say that even though sports is very finicky when it comes to championships and like legacy and history, but they should have took the championship away from them because it's not validated. Now, granted, the Dodgers couldn't get the championship, and we never would have known that the Dodgers would have really beat them if they weren't cheating. Most likely they would have. We can't say that to say that. And the players that was on that team who probably lost their jobs and stuff like that, they have something to say about that too, because they didn't make a team or they lost and they had the opportunity to be a champion. I get all of that. However, to do nothing is even more of a slap in the face to those individuals than if they would have lost the championship. Because even though you can't change history, at least I could have been like, you know what? They got what they deserve. They didn't win. We didn't win. Nobody wins. I'd rather deal with that as opposed to them having this banner and being considered champions, knowing that the fact that they cheated, knowing that they didn't get no repercussions but draft picks, it's still kind of messed up. You know what I mean?
That's what bothers everyone.
Yeah.
See, the players are in a union, so they're protected by the union. So I kind of knew from the get-go that the players wouldn't get punished. I knew from the get-go.
Had that immunity and stuff like that, yeah.
And one thing about the baseball union is very strong. It's the strongest union in American sports. The baseball union is the strongest union in American sports. They fight harder than even the NBA and the NFL. The baseball union is the strongest, and if they're not going to do something, they're not going to do it. They've had baseball strikes, so, and that's different from a lockout. A lockout is when both sides don't get to do what they want, get their way. They can't compromise on something. A strike is you're flat out, listen, y'all not doing this. We're sitting out. They've done that. So baseball, they're very strong. So they weren't going to let those players be punished. So they had to take it out on the manager that got fired, the owner. So everybody wanted. I think the fair.
So $500,000 to a billionaire owner is like $2.
But
you get what I'm saying? Like, so to me, taking the championship, it still doesn't affect the players. Like, now granted, the immunity part, I get it. You don't want to suspend players. You give them immunity. That's why they were able to snitch and get the stuff.
I'll give you a
take away the
suspension.
chip. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll give you a perfect way. Suspend them 1 year without pay. Each individual that was on that team, even if they're not on the roster anymore. If they're on another team, you're suspended for a year without pay. I think that would have satisfied everybody. But again, they were in a union, so the union fought that.
That part I can understand as far as union
and
part.
A lot of people, they get on Rob Manfred, the commissioner, because he didn't do much. But it's not really much you can't do. Like, a lot of people have criticized people like that, but they don't know what it's like to be in that seat. I'm pretty sure he wanted to ban them as long as he could, but he didn't have. He could not do that. The collective bargaining agreement does not allow that, and that's what I
understand.
A lot of people in the media and a lot of other athletes don't get that part. And I think
they understand that.
I'm not defending him by no means, because
I get it.
You still had the ability to take more away from the Astro organization than you did. Yeah. Even if you couldn't get to the players, you could have taken I doubt the championship. I doubt they could have done that. I think they could have, but I don't think it would have, like I was saying earlier, I don't think it would have changed how 2017 felt to the Dodgers. But I think a bigger fine. Well, I heard that was the highest fine they could give. So like you just said, to a billionaire, that's like 35 cents. But
you okay?
I mean, more picks or something like that. That could have been done. I don't know. He was in a tough situation because they're in a union, so he couldn't get.
I get that part. I get that part with the union. I'm sorry to cut you real quick. It's look, I look at it. There are still things within the confines of a contract that they could still have negotiated and done. I felt that was just a slap on the wrist. I understand you can't really ban the team. Look at the NBA, right? The NBA got David Sterling or whatever his name up out of there with his racist comments and right. Thank you, Donald Sterling out of there with his racist comment got him to sell his team, right? And then different things like that because the board was like, you know what? We can't have this negatively affecting our business. You can't be in here. So what I'm trying to say, not get rid of the team, but you could do something like that where you could take back a championship. That doesn't affect the players. You know what I mean? They still gonna get their money. They got their immunity for snitching, whatever. That's all well and good. But as far as keeping the title of champion, knowing that they cheated, I think is the biggest slap in the face to the players. And you got to also understand, the union comprises of the players that cheated and the players that didn't cheat who are pissed off. So you have to address it, and it is hard to do, but you have to address it down the line. And I feel that, look, if you're not going to give them the proper, reprimanding for what they've done, then you're going to have these outbreaks like this. And honestly, I know sometimes it's bad taste, bad timing, especially when you try to have a games with this whole COVID thing going on. You can't incite a brawl. But what they should have done is like, all your Astro players on the team have like an Astro day. They all come there. They face like the warning track and have all the top major league pitchers just throw pitches at them at their ribs, and then they get their licks out, and that's it. A representative from each team that they screwed over, and let them pelt them with a pitch, and they all get.
But you want them to get stoned, leg or something like that. You want them to get stoned to death or something?
A modern day stoning, right? And that's it. Not to death. Every pitch, you hit one person with a pitch. I get it, but it's like, I'm just being funny, but you get what I'm saying. To me, it's like, look, the Rob Manfred cat, I get it. Like it's a tough job to be the commissioner. However, what he did to these players was too light.
But
I should have been like,
but you know what? I think he did that to try to get as much info. I don't think he would have got as much information on what they done if he didn't get that agreement. And I think he'd rather know what they were doing, even at the risk of not suspending them, just to know what all these other major league teams can come up with.
Sorry.
A lot of these major league teams come up with different ways to do things. So he probably said, listen, I'm going to take this hit, but at least I'll know how these teams do it so we could better manage it towards other teams. This is the only thing I could come up with.
I get that.
Why I'm not like I said, I ain't
for the players though.
But I'm not trying to defend him. But this is the best. This is the only thing I could come up with. Is his reasoning for not.
No, I get it, and that makes sense. But that makes sense. What I'm saying is that you take it like this from this perspective. All right, look, you guys get immunity, right? You're not gonna get suspended. I'm not gonna take your pay. Just tell me how y'all did it. All right, we use trash cans, we use buzzers, we use Apple Watches, we use drones, whatever you did, right, to get the sign stealing. That is fine. Now, after I get the information, the players are okay, right? Because the players going to get caught regardless of what they did. Everybody have an idea who did whatever because they seen it on footage. The whole squad is guilty of it, right? There's no person who's not guilty who's on that 2017 squad. So it's not that they say we hide in their face. The only thing you're hiding from them is who told the information of how they did it, right? That's fine.
Right.
That does not mean that you cannot take away the championship. That doesn't affect them. It affects them. Yes, they're not a champion, but you still did something. You're not getting suspended. Right, you're not getting banned from the sport, but you're gonna do that. Look at the people, right? They dog Mark McGwire, they dog Barry Bonds for taking steroids, right? They dog them. Don't even induct them in a Hall of Fame.
Allegedly,
but yet these cats, right? Allegedly, right?
Allegedly, Barry Bonds.
Right, allegedly Barry Bonds.
He's never tested positive for anything.
That's what they're trying to say. So allegedly Barry Bonds, right? They're not even letting put this cat in the Hall of Fame, but yet you got evidence of these cats cheating, right? And you say, oh, well, $500,000 fine. We're taking a couple draft picks.
But I'll tell you this when you finish.
That's stupid to me. It's dumb. Go ahead.
I'll tell you this though, right? You see how you're saying that about the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Who is to say this doesn't hurt their Hall of Fame chances when guys like Jose Altuve, who's putting up those kind of numbers, if he picks it up enough during his career, like when his career is over, who's to say that this doesn't blackball him from the Hall of Fame? Like a lot of times these punishments, people are angry that nothing happened now, but this could affect them later. Like a guy like Carlos Beltran, he was a role player on the Astros. He wasn't the star that he was before, but he was a role player and the key component in this sign stealing situation. He's a borderline Hall of Famer. This could cause him to not get into the Hall of Fame. If it was, in my personal opinion, he is a Hall of Famer. This could hurt him. So while people
what
are
about the other
angry,
scraps on the team who not going to make it the Hall
a
of Fame?
guy like Altuve, a guy like Jose Altuve he's on his way. He's putting up Hall of Fame numbers. No, Bregman, he's still a little young. He's only a couple years, so he hasn't really established himself like Altuve yet. The pitcher like Justin Verlander, he's a Hall of Famer. I'm not punishing pitchers on the Astros because they didn't bang trash cans to throw a slider. Like the pitchers, I'll give them a pass. I'm blaming,
but you got to blame everybody. They all knew the
I understand.
You know,
no. I get it because they were all on. I get it, but because they were all on the team when it happened. But the hitters are the biggest blame, the ones to blame because it involved the cheating involved when they were hitting. You can't cheat.
No, I get it, but
you can't cheat pitching. You know, because
you can't cheat pitching.
Because
then you have an advantage.
The pitcher controls everything. But all right, I get your argument. I'm not even debating you on what you're saying anyway. But with Verlander was a Hall of Fame pitcher before he even got to Houston anyway. So I'm not worried about him getting in. But a guy like Altuve, Beltran, these guys, when they years down the line, people are gonna bring this up, like alleged steroid users, like Mike Piazza, a few years back. He took a couple years to get into a Hall of Fame. You know why? Because there was a rumor he had acne on his back. So people thought that because he had acne in his back, he allegedly used steroids. Where there was no evidence that he used anything. And
that stuff is dumb to me. If you don't have no evidence, you gotta let it fly.
It cost him about 3-4 years to get into the Hall of Fame. And he's never, little things like that, like Barry Bonds.
So why Barry Bonds ain't getting in it yet?
Well, he had a relationship with a guy in. He had a relationship with a guy in Balco who was a part of the steroid situation there, a company. So that's what his issue is. Like he was friends with the guy at Balco, and then he had this friend named Greg Anderson who never snitched on Barry. He always went to jail. Anytime they tried to take him to trial and testify against Barry Bonds. So a lot of that hurts Barry, even though he never tested positive, but he was a part of that Balco.
So if he never tested positive, what's the problem?
Because he was a part of this Balco trial. He was a part of this Balco trial.
That's fine, but you see, that's what I'm saying. So like, you can't have this type of justice for that, and then you want to, Astros, go ahead, man. Next time, don't do it again, or else we're gonna get you this time. Like that's stupid to me.
I understand. Baseball's tricky. Listen,
hit them all, man. Hit them with
Pete
at their butt or their legs.
Pete Rose been sitting around for 30 years. Pete Rose been sitting around for 30 years. He can't get into the Hall of Fame. Why? Because
but he was gambling, right? Yeah,
he gambled.
But that's different.
That's not as bad as this.
But you know why it's still bad? Because you know why it's bad? It's not as bad as cheating, but the gambling. Because even they say back in the day, and even the NBA history, like back in the 80s when the NBA used to be about drugs and cats all snorting and everything like that. People used to throw games because they used to throw games for the mob. You throw games to like, get the spread so they get the money. So I can understand level of like, I can't even give you no thing, Pete Rose, because you was out there betting on games and messing it up. So that kind of mess you up. I get it, because now you're affecting the integrity of the game. Hence, the Astros affected the integrity of the game of banging cans and doing all that other stuff like that. So to me, you can't be giving these slap on the wrist joints. Go ahead.
My thing with Pete Rose is, okay, you gave them a slap in the road, a slap in the face. Jesus Christ, give Pete Rose a slap on the wrist. You might as well just put him in before the man passed away. You gave the Astros. They blamed.
That's what I was saying.
But that's what I'm saying.
That's my point.
And Pete Rose didn't do as bad as what they did, even though what he did was against the rules. It's not as bad. He just gambled. Sorry.
They still got him banned?
He has a lifetime ban.
Oh, lifetime. Okay.
It's for life. They could put him in the Hall of Fame the day after they die. The day after he dies, if they wanted to. But he's banned for life. He's tried to reinstate a few times, but some of these the commissioners that took over after the commissioner that banned him, they kind of out of respect, because from in 1989, the commissioner that was there, he banned him for life, and he passed away a week later.
Yeah.
So a lot of people honor the fact that he made that ruling, and they just don't want to do it because he had passed away a week later. So that's pretty much it. But to end this discussion on the Astros, I think that we're all correct in our opinions on it, and I think that to go back to, I think they don't deserve to be called champions, and they got to earn it the hard way, which is to earn it really, and try to do it without cheating, and they have the talent to do it. But to go back to the very beginning, I think Joe Kelly shouldn't have got one game.
Nope.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm closing it on. He shouldn't have got one game because he didn't hit anybody.
Yeah, I agree.
I know we went all the way on with a whole bunch of other things, but it was about the Joe Kelly thing.
I mean, it's good to get that in there.
Yeah.
But so just to kind of like closing topic we're gonna talk about this NBA bubble. We finally got the basketball back. NBA is back, guys. It came back on Thursday. We had 2 good games.
Sorry to cut you. What was the breaking news? You had breaking news.
Oh, the breaking news has something to do with the NBA. So the breaking news was I just saw something. There was a dancer at that club that your boy said just went to get chicken wings, and she said that he was there for more than just the chicken wings, and she gave him a dance, and he tipped her very heavily.
All right. So
that's what I was saying. So now
I'm gonna start this one.
So now Perk ain't looking like too much of a jerk to you, cats.
I'm gonna start this one off right here. I'm sorry, guys. I just gotta say something about this, right? If you read the whole story, because if I would have known this was the breaking news, I knew this already about 3 hours ago. From what I read, she alleged that they were socially distanced, which is 6 feet apart. So I don't know how you're getting a 6 foot lap dance. To be honest with you, I don't know how you giving lap dances 6 feet apart. And from what was said earlier, there was no dancing going on during that day. And I don't think I'm going to take the word of a stripper, to be honest with you. So I think it's just somebody that's trying to get their name out there. That's all I got to say about it. You guys can take it from there. But I don't believe a word she said. I'm going to just leave it at that.
I'm just going to say that. We're going to dance around that a little bit. I'm going to let y'all say what you have to say. But I just want to bring that up. And we're going to get into the games that happened this week. We had the Pelicans versus the Jazz. I really wanted the Pelicans to win. I would like to see them in the playoffs. And I know, Zion, whatever. But I'm kind of pissed over how they playing Zion. And he's not getting that many minutes. Then you also had the Lakers versus the Clippers. And I felt that the Clippers, even though the Lakers won that game, I felt that the Clippers still showed some promise and still could be the favorite to come out the West.
They are.
Then we the rest of the games that had. I get to catch all the games after Thursday game because I was out yesterday and saw a little bit of the Rockets versus the Dallas Mavericks, and I know I got some games on today. But I'm happy that it's back, and I just wanted to get your guys' opinion on how you felt about those first games. Malik?
Yeah, man. So I'm happy it's back. It was some entertaining games. I really enjoyed what I saw. I mean, as far as the Pelicans you mentioned, I think it was a shame in a sense. They were putting in work. They had a good lead. Zion was looking pretty good, but, they had him on that minutes restriction. But maybe it's multiple reasons. Maybe the Pelicans don't want to make the playoffs and they're concerned about Zion's health. So they was like, oh, he made that 15 minutes. We're not going to put him back in, even though the lead was starting to slip. But I also like Ingram. Ingram was looking good. He was balling. So I'm happy to see him do his thing. I mean, yeah, they got a good little squad there. I mean, if they stay healthy, continue to develop, they definitely going to make some noise in the future. It was a contested game that went, somewhat back and forth. So it was entertaining in that sense. As far as the Clippers and the Lakers, yeah. I mean, the Clippers were without, your boy Lou Will. They was out. Montrezl Harrell, right? Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So, they still was in it. The Lakers are down certain players, but those players aren't coming back. So, yeah, they're out Rondo, they're out, Avery Bradley, things like that. They're not coming back. The Clippers going to get back Magic City. They're going to get back, Montrezl.
And no disrespect to Rondo. So I have to cut you off for a second. No disrespect to Rondo, but Rajon Rondo and Avery Bradley ain't no Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell.
No, not at all.
Nope.
Those both of those guys are arguably 6 men of the year. They definitely have a big impact on that second unit for the Clippers. The Clippers on paper are deeper and the better team. But, in that game, AD was looking pretty good. He didn't really have as much, I guess, of a player to really guard him in a certain sense, but he looked good. LeBron didn't have his best game. He was looking a little rusty. But he still was productive in a sense. He still almost had a triple double. I think he had 16 11-7, something like. But he still was productive. Then he hit that game-winning shot more or less. So they were able to squeak out the win.
Yeah.
And another thing I did like about that game is
Reggie
Paul
Jackson didn't
George.
box out.
Right? Yeah, he definitely didn't. But I like to see Paul George, shining a little more because people always talk about LeBron and AD and Kawhi, and like Paul George is that guy. Y'all know from fantasy, like that's my guy. Like I like Paul George. He's ever since he had that injury, he came back. He's still a very good player. He doesn't always stand out in a certain space, but he.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take notes on Paul George being his guy on that fantasy. Take notes on that.
Yeah, Malik. Did we lose Malik?
All right, we'll get him back.
Hollis,
we'll get him back.
Yeah, I was happy it came back because the NBA is part of my life, so I was really excited. Watching the Pelicans and Utah game. I think the Pelicans honestly probably preparing, just getting ready for next season and get the young guys get their chemistry right. I think they being real cautious with Zion because they know he's kind of injury. I wouldn't say injury prone, but with the what was it, the meniscus he had the problem with. I think they want to take his time with that.
Yeah, it was the meniscus.
Yeah, they want to take him. They want to take it easy with him with that, and get the team right. Brandon Ingram, he's killing. He's that kid. Oh my gosh. But I think that they did good. Utah's a sleeper team. People always sleep on Utah.
Mm-hmm.
In the Lakers game, LeBron LeBron did what he usually do. AD's a guy I don't really trust too much because he's always hurt or something like that. But the Clippers, they did their thing. They lost about 2 points, but the Clippers got a deep team. And like I said, when Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell come back, it'll be over. I think they're gonna be my team to come out the West.
Tom?
All right. Yeah, he hit the nail right on the head when he said LeBron was doing what he usually do when he plays Kawhi Leonard, which is struggle. I know people made a big deal about his little guarding him on right before halftime and everything, and he beat him up a couple times in the fourth quarter, but as usual, he struggles against Kawhi. I didn't like what I saw from them. Mm-hmm. A team that didn't have Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams, and they squeaked out a 2-point victory on a putback. They had multiple double-digit leads, and yet the Clippers found a way to come back. Clippers also blew a double-digit lead. I still like the Clippers in a long playoff battle because they got rough, rugged, hardcore kind of players like Beverly and Harrell. Joakim Noah signed there. That's one of Michael's favorites. Joakim Noah, he's there.
Morris.
The Marcus Morris, who's the better Morris. The Lakers got the other Morris, Markieff. But Marcus is the better Morris. They got Kawhi. Kawhi's a dog, a silent one. Paul George he can get it in too when he wants to. So I kind of like the way they built it. Reggie Jackson. So they're very deep. And the Lakers, once LeBron and AD go to the bench, it's a big downgrade. I mean, Kyle Kuzma, in my opinion, is highly overrated. And other than Kyle Kuzma, who else do they really have as an answer for anything that the Clippers have? The Lakers' best bet is for someone to get the Clippers out of the playoffs before they get to the Lakers. Mm-hmm. So I don't make much of this game the other day because they weren't at full strength. I know Avery Bradley and Rondo's out for the Lakers also, but I'm not putting them in the same boat as Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell. And they did sign Dion Waiters and J.R. Smith, who I don't even know why he's still in the NBA, but whatever. The first game, that game to me was a great game. The Pelicans and Jazz, that's the future. Next 2-3 years, you're gonna be talking about those teams as conference finals contenders. Like the Pelicans, if they can just keep that team together, with Zion and Ingram and Alonzo. You got Drew Holiday there. I don't know how long he'll be there, but if you could keep that team together, the next couple years you're gonna be talking about them. They lost the game. I know Zion is on a minutes restriction, but better safe than sorry. It's the first game back in 4 months. You can't really expect them to throw him out there for 30 minutes. And plus, he had to leave the bubble, and he didn't practice much. So I understood that. And I'm hearing that when they play again, he's not going to play significant minutes today anyway. So be prepared to see. Yeah, be prepared to see. Yeah, they play the Clippers today, so be prepared to see part-time Zion again. But
my thing is that I get all that.
This is not their time. So I know you want to see Zion go far, but it's not their time yet. It's time.
No, I get that.
Everybody gets their turn. But
I get that. I'm not saying that I want him.
But they're coming though. They're coming.
Yeah. I don't want them to be like out there just to be out there. Pause. I don't want them to be just out there just for like no reason, just to play. My thing is that, and I agree with your boy Perk, and on this one, I'm just laughing at that. Is that you got to let him play. Now I get it. He was out the bubble. He didn't play any preseason games, but he had 4 months to heal up. Right? He got 4 months to train and get in good shape. In order to get the cat afloat, right? Now, when he was out there, he didn't have a great game, but he played efficiently. But when you have a game like that, you can't expect like every 6 seconds to pull him out, and then like he could play for the first 3 minutes, you sit him out, and then like he doesn't play again for a long time. To me, that's a disservice to him and a disservice to what you're trying to build. Now, I get it. I'm not trying to say that they're gonna go and make noise and win the championship. But if you're trying to come out there and play and see what you have, and also get his feet wet in a sense, you got to kind of take the training wheels off a little bit. Like when Michael Jordan said when he had broke his foot that time and he had to come back in, and it was like, oh, we don't want you playing. It's a 10% chance you could break it. He said a 90% chance I'll be fine. And sometimes you have to take that chance, because at the end of the day, if you're going to nurse this cat for the rest of his career, playing him like in these sporadic minutes, you're going to just embody frustration. He's going to go out there extra hand one day, do something stupid and possibly get hurt. Just let him play, monitor the minutes, let him get his wings and get his lungs back, so he can actually be useful for you guys. Now at the close of minutes of that the Jet, they could have possibly used him. You know what I mean? Like, granted, they had a good chance, but Brandon Ingram was going off, and Brandon Ingram almost made that game-winning shot. But to say that they were winning and doing what they was doing, and to not play him, is kind of messed up. And especially knowing that you're trying to, let's be honest, the NBA specifically had these rules in place for this play-in game and all this stuff like that, is to get the Pelicans in. They need that viewership. They need that money to make up for not having that gate money and losing some of the money for the NBA season. Zion is a big draw. Zion's a big person that everybody want to watch play. And he ain't playing, right? They're going to have a problem. So my thing, that's why they made it possible. So in the event, if the Pelicans are under 4 games from the 8th seed, they can play in and possibly beat the Memphis Grizzlies if the Memphis Grizzlies keep the 8th seed. So that's what I'm saying. So we already know that. At the end of the day, you have to play what you have. And I know you want to be cautious, but cautious sometimes is more damning than good. You know what I'm
saying? In fairness to the comparison with Mike not playing and them not wanting him to play, and the difference between that is Zion has had knee problems before. See, Mike just happened to break his foot in a game in 1985.
Yeah.
So that was a fortunate thing. That was an unfortunate situation, and I guess they were being a little protective. Okay, we get it. But Zion has had knee problems. So that's why I can see why they've been a little cautious with him. Because remember, in Summer League, he was hurt. Mm-hmm. And then he had the surgery to fix the torn meniscus. They held him out even longer than when he was supposed to come back. Then they brought him back on a restriction. Then they kind of lifted the restriction again. And then the outbreak happens, and then 4 months off. He goes into the bubble. He goes to the bubble. A few days later, I don't know if it's a week or so later, he has to leave the bubble. He's not able to practice. He puts back on a little more weight.
Yeah, he did. I clearly could see that when he came back.
His face was all fat. Then he comes back in the syrup. I'm trying to be serious. He comes back in the bubble now. They're doing scrimmages. It's not enough time for him to get into shape. So I understand why they did it. I know you're emotionally you're a big Zion fan. We all like Zion, but that's the part of it that you got to understand.
No, I get all that. My thing, I get all that. But my thing is that eventually you have to let him play.
But
like
yeah,
this whole baby in him,
eventually,
it's kind
but
of
eventually,
like
this was the first game. I mean, you're getting worked up, and it was the first game. Okay, eventually. Now listen, if 3 weeks later, and they're still doing this, okay, I can understand. But not after the first game, and this is why I can't listen to Kendrick Perkins because he's sitting there saying, "Let the lead." I just gave you a whole rundown on him, and he's talking about he should have been playing more. Like this is why Kendrick.
But you know why they're saying that?
That's why Kendrick Perkins is sitting talking basketball like us.
Yeah, but he retired, man. He champion, bro. But anyway, like the reason why they saying that is this, right?
He didn't have a choice.
They are young players,
he didn't have
right?
a choice.
You're right. They didn't really have a choice like that. He's a young player. We already know physically Zion got some kind of like bow-legged, almost kind of knees. We get all that. But before he had any real significant knee injury, he didn't really have that like that in high school. He may have some like knee tenderness here and there. But when he got to Duke and he blew out them sneakers, that's when he really started having an issue with the knee. And then when he was doing his thing in the summer league, and I'm talking about looking like really like the Zion because he's been playing ball, right? He got into that flow. He landed awkwardly against the Spurs, and the rest is history. My thing is that I get it. He did put on a little bit of weight. I understand that because I can see it when he didn't look at them Bane pitches. He looked a little bit chubbier. But at the end of the day, playing him 15 minutes only is kind of a bad thing. And the way, this is what happened with the KD situation. You had KD, right? KD was going off in the first quarter, doing his thing. You sit him down for a long, extended period of time. You ice him, right? He goes back out there. He blows out and get injury. This is what happens with injuries. You can't sit. The reason why I know
I always thought in that Rocket series he tore his Achilles. Or partially
he didn't really
tore it.
Yeah, he had a partial. Upper calf tear. He had a partial tear.
It was his Achilles,
right?
It wasn't his calf. I think that the Warriors covered it up. And Shaq once said, because he had a torn Achilles, he said when you look back like that, it felt like someone kicked you. And that's what a torn Achilles is. When you look back as if someone kicked you.
I'm not saying that that's not a possibility, but it's all part of the same structure. All of that's part of the same structure.
All right.
I like the KD thing. Just let me just. I'm getting to the point. The reason why I'm necessarily of the injury and the type of injury. What I'm saying is that when you have players, right, who are like that, and you sit them down for a long period of time. Now, it's one thing you play 15 minutes. You say, all right, you know what, you're gonna play the first 7 minutes, and the second half you're gonna play 7 minutes, and that's it, right? But when you play him 3 minutes here, then you bring him back on like he sits for like I'm talking about he sat literally with all regular time included 15 minutes. Then you throw him back out there for another 3 minutes. You have him sit again for a long period of time. That is not a healthy way or approach of reacclimating somebody into that kind of level of play. Which, and the same thing you was concerned about when we were talking about it the first time with the bubble was like, yo, these cats could get injured, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm saying is that when you're playing ball, let him play. If you're going to give him a 15 minutes restriction, break up the minutes differently where it's more productive. Whereas if you're doing like 3 minute spurt here, you sit him down for 15 minutes, he's cold. Now you got to get back in the game when it's a high intensity game where it's kind of close to play another 3 minutes to take him back out. That's more damaging than it is good. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, give the restrictions because you got to get him back into shape. I get all that.
But you have to understand that's exactly it right there. He hasn't had scrimmage time. You can't throw him out there to play.
But son, 3 minutes.
Have him out there playing
like NBA 2K when we have like an aggressive fast time when they start playing out 3 minutes. That's ridiculous. And he doesn't play again for like second half. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm sorry.
Those are his scrimmages.
I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs anyway.
All right. So what will you say if he does go out there in that first game and plays 30 minutes and tears the knee up again? What will you say then? Are you going to say?
I'm not saying play. No, I agree with I agree with you of getting him back acclimated. That's why he was a game time decision. I know as a young
that's what they're doing.
No, hear me out. Let me finish. I understand that, but there's ways of doing it. What I'm trying to say is forget about who he is. I'm talking about what causes injuries, right? If you are a basketball player, right, and the reason why some players who have like issues, they'll sit down on the bench with a knee pad, a heating pad, they have them ride a bike, is to keep them warm, right? If you have him in the game for 3 minutes, right, you know his body type and the explosiveness that he has, then you sit him down for a long. It's just like having a car, right? If I start my car, right, and I'm driving my car, most guys who have like a high performance car, they don't beat on it, they don't floor it until the car's warmed up. Why? Because if you don't do it when the car's warm up, you're liable to make damage to the car. So what I'm saying is that he is a quote unquote. He's the car. You can't expect him as he's like a Ferrari or something like that to throw him out there for 3 minutes, sit him for 15 minutes, bring him back out there for another 3 minutes. You could liable to get hurt. What I'm saying is that give him the minutes restriction. If he's only going to play 15 minutes, that's fine. Play it like, all right, he's going to play 6 minutes this half. Second half, he play like 8 minutes, and that's it, right? Do it like that. Don't do it where it's like 3 minutes here. You pull him out when he's starting to get a rhythm and he warmed up. Sit him down for a long period of time. Get him back in there when he's cold to have him play at a higher pace. Cause an injury. Maybe what I'm saying.
Maybe that was their plan, and people are just talking the way you're talking about it because they didn't announce it. Maybe this was the plan the whole time. Maybe he knew that the whole time. We don't know. You know how you know how sometimes they announce. You know how they announce. You know how they announce sometimes, okay, Zion, he's available today. It'll be a 20-minute restriction. Maybe everybody's issue is they didn't announce that and they just did it anyway.
No, we knew. No. I'm not mad about the minutes restriction. And everybody knew going into the game he was going to have a minutes restriction. Everybody knew that. What I'm saying is this, right? If I'm a player, and that's why I made the analogy, what I'm saying is that have the minutes restriction. But if your minutes restrictions because he's not in condition and you're afraid he's going to get hurt, then you have to manage that restrictions properly. You cannot expect a player, right, to play the first 3 minutes, right, sit for 15 minutes to come back and play again another 3 minutes. Because what's going to happen, what I'm saying is that you can cause them to have an injury. Whereas that you're coming from being warm. What do you think when doctors tell you don't ever do like those long static stretches when you're cold? Why do you think they make the basketball players before they stretch run around? Because if you stretch a cold ligament, you're liable to pop it. You're liable to tear it. So what I'm saying, that's what I'm trying to say. That's my point. My point is that you sit Zion after the first 3 minutes for 15 minutes, right? Then you throw him back in the game when he's obviously cold to have him play at a more because at that point in the game they're back and forth. So then you're going to cause him to get injured. Is what I'm saying. The smarter way to do it with his minutes is say, all right, Zion, like what they was doing with KG, when he's getting older. All right, KG, you play the first 6 minutes. You sit down after that. Then we bring you back in another 6 and whatever to make it a more approach with, all right, Zion, you play for 6 minutes. You got your 6 minutes off. All right, we're not going to play you but so much minutes. You're going to sit down for a little bit. We're going to give you another 6 minute stretch. That's 12 minutes. All right, you know what? We're getting up to that threshold, 20 minutes we want you to play. All right, go play for another 8 minutes and that's it. Then you sit him down, but at least he has it where he has consistency, where it's not like the stop and start. Because while we watching commercials, while we seeing the timeouts, while we seeing the foul shots, he is sitting on the bench getting cold and then have to go back out there and play. That is the recipe for an injury. That's all I'm saying. So all I'm saying is that the management is.
I think it's a recipe for injury. I think it's a recipe for injury if you go out there and do that and let him play 20 minutes. But if he's only going out there 3-4 minutes, I don't think that's really going to affect you as much as you think it will.
I think so, man.
And I think you're just upset that you didn't see him enough.
No,
because I ain't hear you complain. I ain't hear you complain about Yusuf Nurkic playing having restrictions when he played for Portland and he broke a fibula and all that.
I know, but I missed the game. What I'm trying to say, right? I understand the minutes restriction, and I don't mind it. I understand it's the longevity of his career. So I was actually enjoying the game even when he wasn't in it. My thing is that, to me, if your whole objective of the minutes restriction is to keep him from getting hurt, then you have to space it out a little bit better. When you play somebody, and I'm talking from experience. How many times when we were younger, right? And hear me out. How many times when we were younger, right? And we go play ball in the park, right? And we have mad fun. We play all day. And then we sit down for a little bit, and then our whole knees and stuff are sore that we barely could walk home because we was running around and sitting down.
No, I know. So I get it. But listen,
if we go back now to play, we're gonna get hurt. That's what I'm saying.
Yo, let's be real, son. Let's be real, Mike. You just mad because you ain't see Zion in the fourth quarter. Let's just keep it. Let's call a spade, man.
I'm mad. I'm more mad at the Pelicans. Hear me out.
You've been talking about the
Pelicans more. Because I wanted the Pelicans to make it further. Yes, I am excited to see it, but I understood.
But this sounds like a Zion fan upset. This is how you sound emotional right now about it.
You know why? I don't find
you've been excited. you've been amping up to see Zion, and they gave you 15 minutes.
The reason why I don't take it like that. The reason why I don't take it like that because if that's the case, I wouldn't have watched the whole game. I watched the game. I don't mind the fact that he didn't play the fourth quarter.
You probably watched the game hoping they was gonna put him back in there.
Hear me out. I understand, like you said. I knew the same thing. I was like, you know what? He can't get hurt. And they're not really what they're gonna really do. Go to the first round and probably get bumped. So I already understood all that. So I'm not even tripping off that. My thing is that you can't logically say, right?
But they think in long term.
No, I get that. If you're thinking long term, that makes sense. But what I'm trying to say, they already said before the game start, he's going to be in a minutes restriction. Mm-hmm. So I already expected him to be in a minutes restriction. So I wasn't even tripping. What I'm saying is that
your issue is you just didn't like the rotation in the restriction.
I didn't like the fact. I don't like the fact.
How it was distributed.
I don't like.
You didn't like how the way the minutes were distributed.
The reason why I don't like it is because, like I said, if you're trying to prevent somebody from getting hurt, the way you're doing it, if you look at it even if you look at it as physical, like as a doctor, right? That's not the right way to do it. You don't sit somebody down. That's what I'm saying. The reason why KD had his joint snapped up like that is because they had him sitting down and he got cold, and then that muscle.
But they put ice on him. But they put ice on it. That's why. They didn't put ice on Zion.
I'm not saying that about the ice. You're not getting my point. I'm likening the point.
But that's what happened with Kevin Durant. Like,
listen to what I get all that. I get all that. What I'm saying is,
and then he sat on the bench and put ice on it.
Exactly. What I'm trying to say, the reason why I'm saying the ice, y'all missing the point. I'm not saying
the reason why I kept jumping in. No, let me explain to you why I kept jumping in, because you're bringing Durant's name in it. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying about, like, they shouldn't do it that way. I understand what you're saying about with Zion. They shouldn't do it that way. But Durant's situation was different because they was icing the man on the bench. Like, that's I don't like restrictions anyway.
I want you to understand.
But they wasn't icing Zion.
That's not what I'm saying. See, you're looking at it from a direct linear perspective. I'm not looking at it from
I'm looking at it as someone just see that you were mad that they didn't play him a lot.
That's not the reason why. But let's hear me out for real.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying Kevin Durant, I'm saying the ice situation is the similar concept is because Kevin Durant didn't sit down on the bench 15 minutes. He sat down for how many? He sat down and he iced him. The icing, the reason why I'm saying ice is because we already know if I take a frozen glass and I put it in hot water, it's going to pop. If I take an ice cube and I put heat on it, it's going to pop. All I'm saying is that if you sit a person down and that person gets cold and you throw them back out there to play, they are liable to get hurt. That's why I brought the Kevin Durant.
Let me ask you a question, because I didn't watch. Let me ask you a question. I didn't watch the whole game. Let me ask you a question. When Zion would get out the game, was he on a bike or did he sat on the bench?
The first quarter he got out, he was on the bike for a little bit. Then he rode the bike for a good minute, and then he sat on the bench, and then they threw him back in there. The reason why I'm saying that, because even if you look at First Take or any other person who's watching it, they did the mathematics. That's why I said it. The man sat down for 15 minutes straight, not playing, not on a bike, because he said, "Why am I on the bike riding if I'm not sure when I want to get back in the game?" Right? So when you sit down for that long and you get cold, and then you throw me back in a game that's already high pace and we're back and forth, I can get hurt. Is what I'm saying. That's why I said the ice, because the ice is a significant part of it, of him getting cold. The reason why Kevin Durant got snapped up, because they took a warm muscle that was already warm from him playing, and they put ice on it.
Yeah,
and they
literally put ice on it. That's why I kept jumping in, because I thought you were comparing. No, I'm not comparing that. No, that's why. No, that's all. I'm just explaining why I jumped in.
I understand that, but that's what I'm trying to say. So for me, with the Zion joint, it's like, look, he's played, he's warmed up. You sit him down for 15 minutes, he's going to be cold. Then you throw him back in there for another 3 minutes, he could get hurt. So I'm saying if your purpose of sitting him, right, is to preserve him long term, then you have to have a better strategic way of handling his minutes, regardless of the restrictions, right, of him playing. So I'm saying I already knew going into the game he's going to have a minutes restriction. I didn't care about that. I mainly wanted the Pelicans to win because I want to see them in the playoffs so they can get more games. My thing is that playing him in these 3-minute spurts and having him sit for such a long period of time is more damaging than if he played the 15 minutes straight forward and then sitting him for the rest of the game, is what I'm saying. So all I'm trying to say is that if you're going to do it, be more strategic with it because you can't have a man sitting. That's why when Robin them was hurt, other players were hurt. They put them on a bike to keep them warm because they know that if they sit down for too long, you're going to cause the injury to resurface. That's what I'm saying.
So what is your ideal? What was your ideal number of minutes for him?
No, like I said, I don't mind the minutes he played. My ideal circumstance is like he played.
You're talking about.
That's what I'm saying.
You're talking about the amount of the spurt.
No, I'm saying that what they should have played him is like, all right, he played for like, let's say you play him 6 minutes, right? Like I said, KG used to do that with KG when he was getting older in his career. Play him 6 minutes for the first quarter or into the first quarter, right? He sits, right? Then you say, all right, you know what? I give him for the first half. Let's say you break it. Let's say he's only supposed to play. Let's say you want him to play 20 minutes, right? Right? Let's say you want him to play 20 minutes. All right, he played the first 5 minutes. Then he played another 5 minutes, second quarter. He sits for the halftime, obviously, come back up and warm up. 5 minutes in the third, 5 minutes in the fourth. You want to break it up that way. Or I gave him 10-minute spurts or 8-minute spurts or 6 minute spurts. I'm trying to say you can't have him sit for like 3 minutes. You play in the first 3 minutes in the first quarter. You bring him in there the last 2 minutes in the second quarter. So that means he has almost 20 minutes he didn't play to play again.
So the way, right. So the way the way it sounds like you're saying he should have got more minutes.
No,
because you're talking about 5. Because they played in 3-minute spurts.
I know, but he played a total of 15 minutes.
Right, but you're saying now they should have played him 5 here, 5 here, 5.
That would have played him. I think what they should have done. No, not even 20 minutes. He could have stayed within the 15. I use 20 as an example because it's easier to break up the math. I'm saying even if you played the 15 minutes, you could have played him like let's say 6 minutes the first quarter or the first half, right? And you say, you know what, I'm playing the next 6 minutes to start of the second half. So then that way, at least he's playing and he's warm. But to have him sitting for such a long period of time and then throwing him back in it, especially when the game is high paced and intensified, you can get him hurt.
So okay, so all right. I think
you can't do that.
I think I get it now. So you basically have an issue with him playing 4 3-minute spurts. You would rather than put out 2 6-minute spurts.
I don't have a problem in playing the 4 3-minute spurts.
You would rather less spurts and more minutes, or
I'd rather
is that it?
Let's say I let him play 3 minutes, right? He played the first 3 minutes of the first quarter. Then leading into the second quarter, or let's say the second quarter starts, he played the first 3 minutes of the second quarter, right?
So begin every quarter.
No, hear what I'm saying. I don't care when you do it. It's the timing in between. You have him sitting for 15 minutes on the bench, and then you throw him back in it's damaging. That's what I'm saying. If he didn't have to sit on the bench for so long and get cold, then it didn't matter how they did their spurts. But when you have him sitting for such a long period of time and then you throw him back in the game, you are liable to get him hurt. That's all I'm saying. So you can do it's not necessarily about the actual number of minutes. You have to space it out, and he's not sitting for too long, because if he sits for too long, he can get cold. And him being the type of person he is, and already knowing that he had torn a meniscus, you can liably get him hurt again by having him sit and getting cold. That's what I'm saying. So if you're going to have him play in these spurts, then have him either staying on the bike, and you don't want him staying on the bike for 10, 20 minutes either on the bench. Have him staying warm. So all right, 3 minutes here. All right, 4 minutes in the quarter left. We got 2 minutes left in this quarter. All right, you can play another 3 minutes and then lead into the first minute of the other quarter. Do something along those lines where he's not sitting for too long. The problem that I had is that when I heard that he sat literally for 15 minutes before he got back in the game, that's a bad thing, because at that point, you're not really trying to protect him, because now he can get hurt doing that. That's all I'm saying. So if you're going to protect him from getting hurt and you want to prolong his career, you can't have a person going from hot to cold. That's the only reason why I brought up the KD thing, is that they had him sit. He put ice on him, which made him cold. He went back out to play and he got hurt. That's what I'm saying.
Listen. You said KG?
I said KD. I said KD.
Oh, just don't bring up Garnett, because he was already washed up and trashed by then. So
crazy.
Don't bring, because I heard you bring up his the minutes, the way they play his minutes. He was already washed by then.
He was not washed. He was still putting in that work. But I'm trying to say the best way.
He was washed up.
Hold on real quick, Malik, are you back?
We lost him again.
I don't know. I see his name there, bro.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah,
it cut off the last time when I was speaking, right?
Yeah. That's what we thought something happened. That's why we wanted to make sure he was back. And if you,
I know it's I know sometimes it could be hard to deal with me and Michael's mouth. Thanks for the patience.
I wanted to make sure he was back.
Yeah.
Almost like 2 hours into this. I don't even know how long this is.
Yeah, we're almost 2 hours.
But yeah, I mean, we can wrap it up.
This is pretty much it. Well, go ahead.
So I mean, if y'all got anything else to say, y'all can say. I just want to say that piece. Go ahead.
But yeah, I was gonna say, I know y'all mentioned that with the MVP, like the season awards and stuff like that, or y'all want?
Yeah. I mean, we could do like who y'all feel gonna make.
We could do
who y'all
everything.
feel might win the chip.
All right.
Yeah. We could just
try to get it in there.
Get it in real
wrap it up that way.
real quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so which one gonna do first?
All right, so like let's do the awards real quick.
We could predict everything.
Yeah,
we could do the awards first and then the playoff picture.
Right,
I'm gonna fall back because I've been running my mouth enough.
All right, so I guess as far as like the season awards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So MVP, I think it got to be Giannis. You know, Milwaukee has the best record, and they usually reward winning.
Yeah.
And he's been putting in work and really carrying his team. I know, you know, obviously other people talk about LeBron, but, you know, he does have AD, and AD less of a case, but he even has a case for MVP. And I feel like that takes away from it a little bit. But yeah, for me, as far as MVP, I would go with Giannis. I think he should win and would win. I think he's the guy for that. Rookie of the year. I know there was a debate before about whether they would consider Zion because of the number of games he played. So outside of Zion, John Morant are running away with it. Even with Zion, because of the number of games, you got to give it to Morant.
And the lack of minutes.
I mean, he's been balling. He's been going in. He's been really instrumental in the Grizzlies' success. And I mean, even the other day, once again, I know it was the first game back after, but he got it, man. He's doing his thing. So
yeah, Morant looked good yesterday.
Yeah, I'm going with Morant for Rookie of the Year. Once again, I think if Zion was able to play a full year, a normal year, he probably would have got it. It still would have been somewhat of a battle because Morant still, like, just outside of whatever, he's had a very impressive season. But I could see Zion getting it if he was able to play enough games or a whole season. But given the way the season went, I would go with Morant for Rookie of the Year. And as far as six man, once again, it will probably be either Magic City or Montrezl Harrell. But I feel like I would go with Montrezl just because, you know, Lou Will got it last year. And I feel like, you know, Montrezl has stepped up a lot this year in a sense. Like, I think people expected that more from Lou Will after last year. And I feel like Harrell has, like, kind of put in, you know, a certain level of work this year that I would just give him the nod. But I wouldn't be surprised with either one of them getting it, honestly.
Yeah.
Defensive player of the year.
Defensive player of the year. I guess it would be out of Giannis or I guess Gobert. I guess I would go with Giannis on that, but that one I'm not as like
it's a good pick,
emphatic about. But I think I would go with Giannis on that.
It's a good pick.
And what else is there? I guess most improved. All right, so I don't think he's the pick because he came in great, but Luka, in a sense, I feel like he stepped it up.
That's a great pick.
He went from being a really good player to like in the MVP conversation legitimately at 21. Like he's had a phenomenal season out there in Dallas. And I feel like as good as he was last year, I feel like he's taken it. I think he lead the league in triple-double. Like he's really, and you know, I feel like he's really improved a lot even from before there. And I mentioned him earlier, Ingram. I feel like he's stepped it up as well. So for that one though, I guess even though I don't think he's going to win it, for me, I would probably go with Luka. But yeah, I don't think that he's gonna get it. But for me, I feel like he you know, is up there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is there
that's a
any
good one.
other?
That's the major ones.
Yep.
All right.
That's it.
But
Coach of the
MVP,
year, but nobody
for
cares.
MVP, out of LeBron and Giannis, I will pick Giannis. He's been dominating all year. LeBron doing the same thing as well. But Giannis is just leading Milwaukee all the way. You could pretty much say by himself as like a superstar player. I would definitely give it to him for that. Rookie of the year, got to give it to John Morant because he's just, oh my god, that kid is incredible. He's been dominating all year with a good young Memphis Grizzlies team. If Zion would have played all year, it would have been like probably neck and neck. But you got to give it to Morant for sixth man of the year. Oh, this one is kind of tough. I would say Harold been doing this thing as well, but I would probably pick Lou Williams. And for the most improved, I'm stuck between two people, Brandon Ingram and Bam Adebayo.
That's good.
Oh yeah, I
good
forgot
picks
about
there.
Bam. Bam has been, yeah, he was real
I
good. Yeah,
think
he was putting in
me,
work too. But
yeah, between both of them, I don't know because they stepped up their games incredibly, both of them this year. But I think if I had to pick, I would lean more towards Bam. I'm gonna go with Brandon Ingram as well, but I was lean more towards Bam for most improved.
Okay.
I had to pick.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
Oh,
Okay.
defensive player. Yeah, I forgot.
sorry. Defense
Yeah.
player.
I forgot. Oh yeah. For that, I would say it's between me, my opinion, Giannis or Gobert for that one. I will pick Giannis for defensive player of the year.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Most valuable player. Giannis, hands down. I don't think it was as close as they made it. I think LeBron got put back more into the discussion when he had the back-to-back wins against Milwaukee and the Clippers. I think that's what brought him back into the conversation. But I think Giannis has been doing it all year. He's career highs in points and rebounds. And I think he, although he does have a better supporting cast as far as the others, as they like to say, around him, he has better of the others. LeBron James does have Anthony Davis, the best big man in the game, in my opinion. So I think that kind of hurts him a little bit. Plus, AD will steal votes from him. So I will pick Giannis in that. Rookie of the year is John Morant. Zion would have been the unanimous rookie of the year had he played all year. I don't even think it would have been close, contrary to what y'all said about if Zion was playing to be neck and neck. I think Zion would have won it unanimously because he's that great. But this was John Morant's time. Zion didn't play enough. Defensive player of the year. I mean, I'm hearing a lot about Gobert and Giannis. I think Giannis will be number 2. I think Gobert should get extra points because he shut down the whole league, the coronavirus, catching that. So that's defensive player of the year right there. I mean, but my pick, I mean, so that's number 3. Number 2 is Giannis, and I think it's very tight. But I'm going to go with someone that y'all not going to think about, and I'm a little biased. I'm kind of a fan of his, but he's been really putting in work this year as a fill-in. Hassan Whiteside, leading the league in blocks. He had multiple 10-block games. I'm picking him as the defensive player. I know he doesn't come off that way a lot, but sometimes the numbers help. I mean, I think Giannis is a close second. It may go to Giannis. It may go to Anthony Davis, who I think will be number 4. But my pick is Hassan Whiteside. Most improved player to me, I got to go Bam Adebayo. I think Bam Adebayo definitely, he became a star. Like he played behind Whiteside last year. Whiteside gets traded, he becomes an all-star. I could say he's number 1. A guy like Domantas Sabonis would be number 2, but it'll be out of those 2 guys. But I'm picking Bam Adebayo. 6th man of the year, I'm going with another wild card. I could take the safe bet and pick Lou Williams. That's too easy. He's winning it too many times. So I'm not going to pick Lou, although I could. That's the safe bet. But I'm going to throw a name out there that nobody's thinking about. And I've been following him. Plus, he was on my fantasy team a lot this year. Devontae Graham of the Charlotte Hornets. He's come out of nowhere, and he's coming off the bench. He's averaging nearly 20 points a game on a Charlotte team. I would pick him, only because I don't want to keep picking Lou Williams. That's like just picking Michael Jordan's the MVP every year in the 90s. So it's not fair to keep picking Lou Williams. So I'm just gonna go on the limb and pick Devontae Graham. And that's coach of the year. I'm picking Mike Budenholzer. I know you guys didn't pick a coach of the year, but I'm picking Budenholzer of the Bucks because he got that team even better than last year. And those are my picks.
Okay, those are some good picks. I mean, I didn't think about Devontae Graham. I did have AD and I kind of had Whiteside pencil in for defensive, but I'll get to my MVP. I say is Giannis, 100% of the way. I like LeBron. I think he's a great player, but like you said, he has AD, who is also MVP caliber player on his team. Also, I think if LeBron wasn't there, I'm not saying the Lakers would be as efficient, but they will be, decent with AD and the other pieces that was there. However, if the Milwaukee Bucks does not have Giannis, I don't think they'll be as good in the East or as good as at all without Giannis Antetokounmpo.
And maybe a lottery team.
He leads his team in all statistical categories, I believe. Giannis, the last time I checked. So Giannis, hand down. And it's crazy how he went from being like a 6 point per game type of guy to being MVP and probably back-to-back MVP. Rookie of the year, Ja Morant, most definitely. Even though, like to Tyrone's point, I agree with Tyrone. If Zion would play the full year and he was healthy, Zion would have got that joint unanimously because the league was pushing him as the face of the franchise of the NBA now, and also he's a very talented player. And if he was playing the full year, who knows? The Pelicans probably would have been in the playoffs and them have to worry about this playing game and etc. Sixth man of the year, like you guys said. You just don't want to keep giving it to the same guy like Lou Williams because he's just known for doing that. And plus, he getting lap dances. He ain't going to get that vote. You know what I'm saying? So it has to be. I didn't really think about Harold like that. I think Harold's a good person. I was going to say somebody on the Nets, but they're not like. I was going to say Dinwiddie, but at the end of the day, I don't really like Dinwiddie like that. And he a net. But at the same time, he was starting sometimes too. So
we got to talk about that because that's not the first time I heard you say that.
So I'm gonna say I like Dinwiddie. He's a net, but some stuff he does, the decision making, he try to get a little too much.
We gotta talk about that. I gotta understand that. It's
Yeah. So as far as sixth man, I didn't really think about Harold, but I'll say maybe Harold is because I forgot he does come off the bench. And honestly, if they had Harold in that game the other day, the Lakers would have lost that game because AD would not have went off the way he did because AD is not really keen to be played physical like that. Anyway, as far as most improved, I will have to say. I didn't follow the Heat. So I did like Bam. I do think Bam is a great player and he played well, but I have to go with Brandon Ingram. I think Brandon Ingram has become like what I watched, and not only watching him play the other day too. Like he is becoming like a miniaturized, low budget kind of like Kevin Durant as far as his stature and how he can play. He's getting up there, and if he continues in this trajectory, I think he can be a problem some years to come. And even KD even gave him his props. And that game say he coming up next, so you got to give him his props. So I'll give most improved to Brandon Ingram because he went from being like a guy who's considered a bust on the Los Angeles Lakers to the fact that they traded the whole squad to get their pieces to being like a top guy all-star this year. So I got to give it to him for that. Defensive player of the year, Tyrone, you hit it right on the head. I like that though with the Rudy Gobert, but I feel that AD. Seeing that, I think it's going to be like this. AD did play well defensively, but I do think consistently Giannis and Rudy Gobert have been consistent as far as on the defensive end and known for the defensive plays. And seeing that Rudy Gobert is not really really known for his offense as of late, he's getting up there, but defensively, he's been up there. I will say Rudy will be the person who probably get the nod. If not, they probably will give it to AD, especially if Giannis going to get it, unless they want to make it like a historic thing, like defensive player of the year and MVP. I don't see Giannis getting both.
Only two players have done that: Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon.
Hakeem,
yeah. That's it. So,
and the greatest of all time.
Yes, sir.
So that, as far as coach of the year, like me, when it comes to coaching, I don't really be like, oh, coach of the year. I like Doc Rivers, and I'll be biased to say that. I think Mike Budenholzer did his thing. I know. I mean, I'm just trying to say when it comes to the coaches, it's kind of hard for me to say coach of the year because I'm not trying to say coaches are not important. I'm just trying to say that a lot of times some coaches be like riding the coattails of their teams and getting this light for doing something like that. But I like the guy on the Indiana Pacers. I think he's a good coach because he kept them consistently good, and they don't really have no really superstars on their squad.
Nate McMillan?
Well, I'll put him up there too. for Coach of the
It's
Year
not a
because
bad,
he
yeah,
had
because
them playing
no
well.
Oladipo.
You know what I'm saying?
Oladipo was out.
No
Yeah.
Oladipo, none of that, and they in the playoffs playing well. So I'll give it to him. I would have said Kenny Atkinson at one point, but he not the voice that we need anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But he is a great coach.
I was just getting ready.
And I don't think he will get Coach of the Year accolades because he just like but he's a great coach. So as far as Coach of the Year, it got to be either between Mike Budenholzer or your boy Nick McMillan, because for him to have the Indiana Pacers playing at the pace and the level that they've been playing consistently, and they don't have no superstar like that in that squad. They do it by committee. I got to give
good pick.
props for that. So
that's a good
those
pick.
are my picks, and I mean I think we could. Probably, you guys gonna say something?
Well, I was just gonna say, just to give some kind of a coach thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I would throw Spoelstra in there. I feel like Miami made a big turnaround from last year to this year. I mean, obviously Jimmy Butler and certain other pieces have had a factor in there, but I feel like Miami has no one was really expecting them at the beginning of the year to kind of be where they're at. So I'll throw Spoelstra.
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Hollister, you got a coach you want to throw in there?
I would throw in Billy Donovan.
Oh my God! Wow,
that's
the best one.
OKC to be
the best one. Yeah, man.
I mean, you're right. Billy. I didn't think about Billy.
I think he won that one on us. I mean, he may not win it, but I think he picked the best. I think he got the best one because I thought OKC was gonna be a lottery team.
I thought so too.
I thought Chris Paul would quit on the team. He'll get traded and they'll just tank.
He had a guy step up. SGA stepped up, and all kinds of people stepped up.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're right, man. Honestly, I'm happy for him because they've been blaming him for a lot. Even when KD was there, when freaking Russ was there, and I was trying to tell people sometimes Russ, like I like Russ, but sometimes he's a little bit much.
Russell Westbrook. I will never criticize Russell Westbrook because the heart and soul that he has, he's the heart and soul of every team he's on. I'll never criticize him. Never.
Every night he
brings it every night. Yeah. Every night.
Yeah, unlimited energy.
I can't criticize.
My thing is that I love that about him, and I'm not trying to take nothing away from him on that front. However, when it comes to winning and doing certain things, it's more than just giving it your all. I know some people lead by certain type of ways.
Wait, what did you just say?
Come on.
What did you just say? Is more than giving it your all? That is the most.
No. Listen to what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying. It's just the way you put it.
You can be a player, right?
Saying,
give it your all, right? But then the rest of your guys are not following with you. You got to help make the other guys better. And I felt when he was in OKC, a lot of the stuff was trying to get statistics. Now that he with James Harden, he don't have that load to really kind of bear as much anymore. He's playing a lot better.
I don't blame him.
But I felt that I'm not blaming him for that either, but I'm just trying to say for him being the sole guy there and the OKC stuff, they would kind of put a lot on Billy Donovan. I felt that maybe it was like Billy Donovan, look, man, get these other guys involved, do this. And Russ is like, nah, I only play one way, and that's how I play, and that's it. But I don't want to divert into another topic we did.
Yeah, run this we can leave that for another day.
But this was a great conversation. I think we got a lot covered, and I want to thank you guys again for listening and /watching. I want to thank Tyrone, Menelik, and Hollister for joining me again today for this podcast, and hopefully as we can continue to grow this podcast, we get more and more topics and more subscribers and everything like that. So I just want to thank you guys again, like I said, and God bless. And you guys do your part.
Also, I would like to add something. For anyone that watches and want to leave a comment on the YouTube page, on Michael's YouTube page, feel free to put some questions out there that you want to discuss.
Yeah, that's dope.
Put some questions out there. We'll talk about it. Anything with sports, put it in there.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment as well.
Thank you.
That's right.
Yeah, second all of that.
All right, guys. Y'all take care.
We out.
Later.
All right.